The X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is largely an opinion talk show. All opinions, comments, or statements of fact expressed by Rob McConnell's guests are strictly their own and are not to be construed as those of the X Zone Radio Show or endorsed in any manner by Rob McConnell, Relmar McConnell Media Company, the X Zone Broadcast Network, its affiliated networks, stations, employees, or advertisers.
All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome back to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell, and we're coming to you from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network and the X Zone Broadcast Network, and our family of affiliates across Canada, the United States, Central America, the Caribbean, South America, the Pacific Rim, Asia, Africa, and Europe. Toll free worldwide, 1-800-610-7035. My email address, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. My guest this hour, X Zone Nation, is Peter Metzner, and Peter incorporates dream work in his highly acclaimed life leadership coaching and training programs. He works extensively with dreams, where he teaches psychology at Vance Granville Community College, leadership and innovation at Ellen University, as well as Peace College in Raleigh, North Carolina. He has researched and studied dreams throughout the Journey Through Wholeness, Triangle Jung Society, Robert Johnson, Barry Williams, Jeremy Taylor, John Ryan Hole, and others. He has written articles on leadership and dream work and has given keynote presentations as well as workshops on dreams to organizations such as the National Wellness Institute, Center for Creative Leadership, and the North Carolina Association of Business Coaches. He has also facilitated classes on dreams for the Institute for Life Coach Training. Now, prior to creating Dynamic Change, Inc., he served as Vice President of Client Relations and Program Development for the Leadership Trust and was employed by the Center for Creative Leadership in Greensboro, North Carolina. More information on our guest this hour, Peter Metzner, at www.dynamicchange.inc.com. And Peter, welcome to the X Zone.
Well, thank you, Rob. I'm happy to be here.
Tell me, Peter, does everybody dream?
We all dream. Not everybody remembers their dreams, though.
Why is it that some people have no problems recalling their dreams and others just can't do it?
Well, a friend and a mentor of mine, Robert Johnson, said it like this. He said that dreams are like friends. They need to be welcomed. And for the most part, in our, let's say, rational left-brain Western society, what we typically don't understand, we dismiss or we become afraid of. And hopefully, as a result of this piece that we're doing, that people will be a lot more comfortable not only in taking a look at their dreams, but actually welcome them so that they can actually tap into the guidance and the wisdom that the unconscious will actually bring us and is trying to bring us every day or every night.
What happens if we don't dream?
Well, here's the way I'd look at it. We do need to dream, and sometimes if we are sleep deprived, well, a lot of bad things happen, health-wise, accident-wise, as well as being able to function in the world. What I would say, even if we don't remember our dreams, dreams are coming to promote healing and wholeness. And the way I would look at it is if you thought of the part of the brain that dreams come from, it's our right brain. So you could say dreams are pictures of our emotions. And even though we may not be aware of our emotions, we may not allow ourselves to feel some of the pain, anxiety, or anger that we experience day to day, the dreams are helping process these emotions. And it's almost like the valve of a steam kettle, in that just the very act of dreaming allows so much of this pressure to be put out, let's say, in a more productive or constructive way. And if we don't dream, then it could be very negative for our health, emotional health, psychological health, etc.
All right, Peter, stand by. You and I have to take a commercial break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Exonation Peter Metzner is our special guest. www.dynamicchange.inc.com. That's dynamicchange.inc.com. I'll be back on the other side of this break with Peter as we continue talking about dreams here in the X Zone, live from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, on the Talkstar Radio Network and the X Zone Broadcast Network. Don't go away.
Take a step back in time and discover old Florida cuisine at Marsh Landing Restaurant in Fellsmere. Enjoy delicacies such as frog legs, gator tail, catfish, and swamp cabbage, or enjoy the more traditional cuisine like hand-cut Angus steaks, ribs, and seafood. Join us for breakfast with a southern flair featuring sweet potato pancakes, biscuits, and gravy, and much more. Planning a party? Marsh Landing's private dining room can accommodate groups from 8 to 80 people. While you're visiting, enjoy the historic pictures, artifacts, and stories that line the walls. Marsh Landing is truly a unique experience. Marsh Landing Restaurant, 44 North Broadway in historic Fellsmere, or visit marshlandingrestaurant.com. Marsh Landing, old Florida cuisine at its best. Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
This is Johanna Carroll, host of Dialogue with Divinity on the X Zone Broadcast Network. While walking along Kaanapali Beach in Maui this past year, I kept discovering all these shells and coral in the shape of hearts. My dialogue with Divinity was very simple. Do you want me to do a retreat to heal people's hearts in Maui next year? And of course, the answer was yes. As a master spiritual teacher, I am offering you a neat retreat called Rise, May 8th through the 12th, 2017, and the chance of a lifetime to rest at a 5-star resort for 5 days and experience a spiritual renewal of your heart and soul. Kaanapali is one of the top 5 beaches in the world. This stunning resort has undergone a $40 million renovation. I walked the entire property, checked out the room choices on your behalf, and I must say it is stunning. Our conference room faces the ocean with sliding glass doors. Maui is known as Mother Maui because it is a soft, gentle, healing energy. In the embrace of Mother Maui, you will feel yourself rising from the limitations of an ordinary life to an extraordinary journey of peace, bliss, and harmony. A greater sense of clarity. Our Rise retreat ignites renewal in the sacred elements of air, water, earth, fire, and wind. There's plenty of free time to enjoy all that Maui has to offer. A small deposit is required now to reserve your space, as this retreat, it will sell out. For more details, please go to johannacarroll.com and register today. Aloha, and I'll see you in mystical Maui.
Peter Metzner is our special guest, www.dynamicchange.inc.com. Peter, where did your fascination of dreams come from?
Oh, that's a very good question. Let me put it this way. I was in a midlife crisis, and that's probably an underestimation. And I think the best way to describe that is a midlife crisis is you've climbed a ladder, and then you realized it's up against the wrong wall. And so what tends to happen if we're not living in accordance with who we really are or living our life, we should be getting bad dreams or nightmares. And what I found is that at that time of my life, I wasn't in the place career-wise that I really needed to be, and I had this dream that I was stuck in a desert, and there's a chain link fence and a brick wall on one side, and on the other side of a doorway, which is being guarded by a middle-aged guy, I wonder who that was, I was stuck, and on the other side were these beautiful rolling hills and green pasture. And I took that to an analyst, and I later realized that dream was a metaphor of my life, that I was actually feeling stuck. And I became so fascinated by how that image was revealing so much about my current life that I started to do research, study, attend workshops and programs, and before I knew it, I was being asked to do some lectures, dream circles, write about dreams, and I've even incorporated them into my coaching practice, as well as most of the courses that I teach in psychology, as well as leadership as well. And so that one disturbing dream actually had an amazing influence on my life and also where I have taken my work since then.
What do our dreams tell us?
Well, here's what I would say. The number one thing to think about dreams is that every dream, and this is according to Jeremy Taylor, that every dream comes to promote healing and wholeness. So even the nightmares, even the scary dreams, that every dream is coming to make us aware of something in our waking life that we need to know, but that we don't. And so there's nothing wasted in a dream.
So that means something that we are not willing to face in our waking hours comes to us in a dream and pounds on our subconscious door?
Well, I have a quote on my website that I think is very revealing. This was by psychologist Urim Kaufman, who said that man's capacity for self-deception is truly monumental. In my mind, that's an understatement. And this is why dreams are very valuable, because we can't cheat them. They're independent of our consciousness. And because we can't fool our dreams, they give us something that we need to pay attention to, but that we don't, or oftentimes don't want to. And thus, we often have these recurring nightmares. And the nightmares simply our unconscious screaming at us to pay attention to something that we need to address, but that we're reluctant to do that.
If people would want to recall their dreams or better remember their dreams, what could they do, Peter?
Well, there's a couple of techniques that could be very useful. I guess the first thing that I would say is to be open to your dreams. And one thing that I would say is that Jeremy Taylor even says dreams are like a bus. We get them regularly, like every 15, every 20 minutes. And if you miss the bus, that's okay. There's another one coming. So be open to them is number one. And the second thing that can help, and this is what the Silva Mind Control folks have done as far as helping recall, is to have a little sip of water before you go to bed, and have a little notebook or scratch pad by the side of your bed, and just be open to whatever comes. And before you do anything, as you wake up in the morning, scribble, even if it's just a fragment, just scribble whatever you can remember or draw from that dream. And what tends to happen is that even people who have never remembered dreams, when they do this, all of a sudden it moves from a fragment to more until you eventually get into some really very, very coherent stories in the dreams. And then once that starts happening, you can start seeing themes and how the dreams are actually giving an ongoing commentary of our waking life.
Do our dreams manipulate us, or do we manipulate our dreams?
That's a very good question. Here's what I would say. Carl Jung said this, that the images and ideas that dreams contain cannot be explained solely in terms of our memory. So they express new thoughts that have never reached the threshold of consciousness. So then the question is, are we dreaming, or is something coming through us? And the answer to both of those is yes. And I think understanding this, we can also take a look at how dreams have actually shaped history and many of the scientific theories and discoveries that have taken place. Like, for instance, Einstein's theory of relativity came when he was a teenager. He was dreaming he was on a sled going down a hill, and as that sled went faster and faster and faster, it approached the speed of light. And later on in an interview, Einstein said his entire scientific career could be seen as an extended meditation of that dream.
Tell me, how do dreams promote healing and wholeness?
Okay, that's a very good question. And here's the way that I would say it, that dreams are going to tell us things that we do need to know, but that we are unaware of or won't allow us. And so part of becoming whole is to own all these parts of ourselves. And I think that from a psychological standpoint, what I've seen in many of the leadership programs and also many of the folks that work with me in a coaching kind of situation, there are regrets, there's pain, there's sometimes some self-loathing, and what we tend to do often is those parts of ourselves that we don't accept, the scary, the immoral, the unsavory parts that we don't want to accept, we often repress. And you could say that these even split off. Well, in our dreams and in dream work, this is a Jungian concept, that dreams are going to also show us the shadows or the shadow part of ourselves. And to become whole means to accept us completely. I'll say it like this, that Marion Woodman said that to be psychologically free is to be confident in our own inner world, and that is responsible for our strengths and our weaknesses, consciously loving ourselves, and therefore we're able to love others. And so dreams guide us in that direction, however crooked that path may be. And so to me, what she's saying is that what dreams will do is help us own those parts of ourselves that we don't want to own, and that's how we become whole. And when we're able to, let's say, forgive, love, and accept those parts that we may not like, that's when we become whole, or as Robert Johnson said, holy. And how does this affect our relationships? Well, when we have now accepted ourselves and when we're able to accept others, we're much better able to have healthier, more collaborative and productive relationships. And this is actually a very freeing aspect that allows us to go towards higher level types of endeavors that are more purposeful and meaningful.
It's been my experience that a relationship is a two-way street. What if the other person in the relationship doesn't have the same philosophy as you do, and nor do they accept the dreams the same way that you do? Right.
I think there's two parts to that question. And let me answer the other part with dreams. Whenever we do dream work in a group or individually, dreams are revealing a very deep part of ourselves. And so I would caution anybody not to share a dream that they've had with somebody who doesn't appreciate the dream or trust. I think we've all revealed things to people that we wish we didn't. So yes. When we do work with our dreams, I think it is very important that there's a very trusting, accepting, and healthy relationship. So that's the other part. And the way that I would look at the first part of your question is as we interact with various people of different cultures, different religions, different personality types, different values, the part of it is, we can only be responsible in a sense for ourselves, that self-acceptance. And what I find is that when people are less judgmental and more tolerant, more accepting, then all of a sudden that energy or that type of being does affect the other person. So in other words, we affect people that we come into contact with consciously or unconsciously. And the key is to be mindful that even if we aren't saying a word, our very being, our very presence is having an impact on people around us. And so thus a person who is doing their work and is on the process of this self-awareness, self-mastery, and let's say enhanced interpersonal skill, they do affect people around them in a very conscious, in a very credible way.
Are you finding that more and more people are turning to dreams for answers?
I think throughout history, this has happened. Songs like Paul McCartney's Yesterday, Robert Louis Stevens' Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, Satisfaction, Keith Richards' Satisfaction, these all came from dreams. And what I find is that many artists, musicians, writers, many creative people, even if they don't fully understand what their dreams are saying, are very connected to the dream life. So I do see that there is a greater openness to dream work. And I feel like that's part of my role, part of my purpose is to help, give the, awareness or help build the awareness that we sleep a third of our lives, and it's not just that we're in bed and resting, but there's something very important going on, and that if we just were in tune and did nothing more but recognized and developed an emotional connection to our dreams, that there would be tremendous amount of creativity, psychological growth, and healing that takes place very naturally.
How does the body heal using dreams? Are we talking about physical healing, or are we talking about mental and emotional healing?
I would say all three. And so let me give you one example to see how this works on all of those three levels. And I think one important concept with dream work is that dreams speak in multiple levels at the same time. So they're going to speak about our ego, but they'll also give messages from our unconscious. And then what the Jungians say, or depth psychologists would say, another level is our psyche, our self, or our soul. And then there's, of course, that concept called the collective unconscious. So in other words, that we're also connected to each other on this vast internet, INNER, internet. And so dreams are actually giving us messages on all these different levels all at the same time. Now, I'd like to share an example of someone I'd worked with quite a while ago.
All right, what we're going to do, Peter, is we're going to take a commercial break with the news. Certainly. And when we come back, I'd love to hear that story that you're going to be telling us about somebody that you work with. Peter Metzner is our special guest, www.dynamicchange.inc.com. That's www.dynamicchange.inc.com. We'll be back after the news here in the X Zone on Talkstar and the X Zone Broadcast Network.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
Peter Metzner is our special guest, www.dynamicchange.inc.com. And we're talking about dreams this hour in the X Zone. Now, Peter, before we went to the commercial break, you were going to tell us a story about somebody that you work with.
Okay, here is one example. I had a number of semesters ago, a student in one of my introductory psychology classes, and she would come in on a Tuesday morning and be hungover or so tired and just put her head on the table and sleep, and I would think to myself, she's not going to make it through this semester. And when we got to the section on dreams and the unconscious mind, we did an introductory work with dreams, and then they all got trained in group work with dreams, and she all of a sudden became very engaged. And her dream was this. She had a dream that she was in her boyfriend's car in the back seat, and she had to move a lot of liquor bottles and beer cans, and it was just so full of alcohol and booze that she had to almost squeeze herself in. And he's driving the car, and it's swerving, going various directions. End of dream. Now, it doesn't take an expert on dreams to say that she's not in control of her life. She's not in the driver's seat, so to speak, and there's something that is in this dream that shouldn't be there, namely all the alcohol. Well, after the class, she teared up and she asked me, is this dream telling me I'm going to die? And going back to that concept that dreams are trying to heal us, my comment was, I think the dream is trying to tell you something, that you're not in control, and that if you stay on this course, something really bad can happen. And that's all I said, and that was enough. That was the life raft, where very shortly after, she started going to rehab, getting a handle on her addiction or her alcoholism, and then she got her boyfriend to also commit to doing his work through rehab. And the end story is that not only did she pass the class, she got into a very good program that allowed her to not only get a good job, but she and her husband both did the work, and I won't say happily ever after, but the dream was a pivotal point in her actually taking responsibility for what was going on in her life.
Now, I know there are nightmares, and then there are reoccurring nightmares. What's the difference?
Well, here's what happens with the reoccurring nightmare, and I got this from Paula Reeves, another Jungian analyst, and that she said that the recurring nightmares, again, the unconscious screaming at us to pay attention to something in our waking life, and what happens if we don't get the message and understand it, we're going to keep getting it over and over and over again. So what she writes and what I found in my own work is that when we do understand what the message of the stream is, we'll never have that nightmare again, which is pretty remarkable. And I have another example to share with you. Worked with a woman who had a recurring nightmare that her husband was in a casket with a glass coffin and dead, even though in waking life they were married. And every night she had this dream. Every week she had this dream, almost every night or every other night. And at first she thought, oh, my gosh, is my husband going to die? And then she started to realize that the dream wasn't literal. Dreams are metaphors, and this was a metaphor that the relationship was dead. Once she got that, she never had that dream again.
So the dreams can also help us to analyze our life situations and give us the answers that we're seeking in a very roundabout way?
Right, sometimes a very dramatic way. Another example, another woman I worked with, she was having some marital difficulties. And then again, think about this. She is in this dream, instead of a bearskin rug, instead of a head on the bear, there she is. She is the rug. Her husband comes in and opens the door and then walks over the rug, goes to the kitchen, and pulls out a beer. End of dream. So again, as we've talked, she was feeling like a doormat. She's feeling constantly walked over, and that was a metaphor of her relationship and her marriage. So very often we want to take things literally, and we say, what a crazy dream, but the dreams are coming to tell us something that we have to know. And since we dream primarily dreams from our right brain, which has to do with creativity, intuition, emotion, spirituality, our dreams are coming in pictures. And so we have to look at them as the language of the artist, the language of the poet, and then ask the question, so what feeling did I get from this? How is this dream, in some ways, a metaphor of what's going on in my life? And when we ask these questions, and if we did nothing else but connect emotionally to what we felt in that dream, it can be very revealing about areas of our life that maybe we are reluctant to address, because personal growth is painful. And very often we avoid the necessary pain that we need to actually grow and become, let's say, more mature, responsible, spiritual, etc.
Is there a precognitive aspect to dreams?
Yes, there certainly is. And whenever I have done a program, a lecture, a workshop, I hear of these types of things, the precognition, and I could say, too, that I've experienced it as well. Let me give you one example of a dream that you'll have to decide whether or not it's precognitive.
Okay.
Was working with a fellow. He had a recurring dream of being in a sports car, driving too fast, flipping over the railing, bumping into other people. And if you think about this as a metaphor, driving too fast, driving too hard, bumps in the road relationships. Well, we worked with those series of dreams for a while, and then we stopped working. And then it turns out I get a message from a friend that he was in the emergency room with chest pains. And so there we go. Was it precognitive? Was a dream warning us? Or was a dream saying, if you keep going in this way, this is going to happen? Now, I've also heard of dreams where this is a daughter and a father where she had a dream about sitting at the kitchen table with her dad. She's in the East Coast, he's in the West Coast, and then she calls him up and said, Dad, I had a dream about you. And he had the same dream and could even recount the conversation and the interactions, and was able to tell her some of the facets of her dream that she had actually had as well. And so how could that be? Well, many an analyst will say that on a soul level, we're all connected. I asked Robert Johnson in a workshop, he said, now how can it be that people get these precognitive type of experiences? And his answer was simply this, is that the unconscious mind doesn't play by the same rules that our conscious mind plays by. In a very similar way that physics, the Newtonian physics, is also not going to have the same types of rules as quantum physics when we start looking at the atom or subatomic particles. That there seems to be a different rule book when you get into reality at such an infinitesimally small level.
But isn't it also possible that we create our dreams based on our wants, our desires, our aspirations, and that not all dreams depict the past or the immediate future, but are just a play yard for our disembodied spirit?
Certainly. I think that there are those levels, too. I've had a student tell me about a dream. It was like a sexual fantasy, and my comment is, well, that's the safest sex you'll ever have. The point is, yes, our dreams are going to reflect our desires. They're going to reflect our fantasies, and they may also compensate for what we don't have in our life. And so, for instance, if somebody, who is somewhat frustrated or in a mundane job and then has a dream that they're an actor or an actress, well, that dream could be saying two things, that, there's a wish, but it could also be revealing that, there's something inside of you. You have that. The things that we admire in other people, we also have as well. So I would say on one level that can be very true, and this is what Freud would often say, that our dreams could often indeed reflect our repressed wishes, our repressed fantasies, and allow ourselves to come up, for this to come out. And so I think on one level, I think that's very true.
So why is it then some people discard their dreams or are even afraid of their dreams? Well, I think this is the way it is with most things, that what we readily don't understand, we dismiss, or we become afraid of. And throughout history, in every major wisdom tradition or religion, dreams have played a role in the sacred texts. And I think that in our illusion that we are in control, or if we solely rely on our left brain, logic, linear type of thinking, that dreams can be certainly very threatening because they're out of our control. Physiologically, what happens when we sleep, the frontal lobe of our area, if you were to tap your forehead, that part of the brain, the frontal lobe, is actually shutting down when we're asleep. So this is the policeman. This is the impulse control. This is the kind of thoughts about who we are, what we should believe, what we should think. And so when we go to sleep, the policeman is also asleep. And then a lot of the later brain imaging types of equipment shows that the right brain of the right brain is actually flooded with blood, and so that the emotional, the creative, the inspirational, intuitive, and you might even say the spiritual part of our brain is activated, while this part of our brain that has to do with impulse control and performing in this world that we live in is asleep. So therefore, dreams are beyond our conscious control. Is it possible for us to participate in our dream life?
Yes, and the term for that is active imagination, and Carl Jung believed that was very, very important, that we can actually heal and promote our healing by actively engaging with our dreams, so that we can actually work with our dreams so that we can now actually help facilitate and play a role in them providing the healing, the wholeness, or the answers to some of the difficulties that we can face. And if we have time, I have another quick dream to share with you that Robert Johnson shared with us in a group. And he had actually worked with Carl Jung, and Carl Jung did something he characteristically didn't do, is he told Robert Johnson, this is what you need to do with this dream. And in Robert Johnson's recurring nightmare, he was being chased by a snake, and every dream the snake seemed to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And Carl Jung said, you need to stop running from that snake, and you need to face that snake. And in the last dream that he had with that snake, the snake came to swallow him up. And so Robert Johnson remembered what Carl Jung had said, and in his dream, he turned around and he faced that snake, and then when he faced it, that snake became the size of a house, and its jaws came to eat him up, but he stood his ground, and just as that snake was about to swallow him, it turned into a Buddha.
And what do you
from there?
What do you make of that dream? How would you interpret that dream?
Well, if you look at snakes throughout history, there's the symbolism is that snakes have a tremendous amount of transformational power. If you look at the medical staff, you have the two snakes, and just about every culture, snakes have quite a bit of emotional charge, and the Kundalini, the snake going through the chakras. And so what he did, and this is the way he looked at it and the way that I would see it too, is that when he stopped running from his power, his strength, this amazing force that was coursing through him, and when he stopped and faced it and integrated with it, then that allowed him to move forward. And since then, he had become a leading analyst, written numerous books, lectured internationally too, and that was the point where so much of his life started happening. And so, and then again, and through so much of his work, dreams have played an integral part of raising consciousness and actually claiming our lives and doing our work for healing.
Why is it some people dream in color, others dream in black and white?
Now that is a very good question, and there's also some other nuances. I have a friend, and he just dreams in a printed word, and he says, "Boy, I envy people who can even dream in images." And I asked him, "So, well, what do you do with it?" And he says, "Well, what he does is he writes down his dreams, and he's actually a physician, and on one of his dreams, it gave him the ideas to actually get a major NIH grant." And so I said, "Well, what's happening to you doesn't sound too bad to me." The way that I would look at it is that we are all going to dream in ways that we uniquely need to. We all have different personalities. We all have different learning styles. Some of us are more visual. Some of us are more auditory. Some of us are more kind of kinesthetic. And I think, too, in our dream life that you're going to see nuances of the types of dreams and how people do relate to them. Edgar Cayce used to say the engineer will dream what he needs to dream, the doctor what he or she needs to dream. And I've even had psychologists who their dreams reflected some of the insights that they needed to start working with their clients or their patients, too.
All right, Peter, stand by. You and I have to take our final break. Exonation. Peter Metzner is our special guest. www.dynamicchange.inc.com. That's www.dynamicchange.inc.com. And Peter and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break as the X Zone continues. We're right here live and around the world from our studios in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Once again, 1-800-610-7035 is toll free. And we will be back. Whatever you do, don't go away.
This is the X Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
19 Sergeant Central. 19 Sergeant, check. Officers on the scene.
Hi, I'm Larry Lawson, host of Paranormal Stakeout. With over 36 years in law enforcement, I have learned a few things. The most important is the proper gathering and preservation of evidence is vital to putting the bad guy behind bars. It's no different in the world of paranormal investigation. Whether it's the search for the afterlife, cryptozoology, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, how we gather the evidence, preserve that evidence, and present it to a jury of our peers will make the ultimate difference in proving the existence of worlds and entities that are beyond our imagination. Join me, Larry Lawson, every week on Paranormal Stakeout when, along with my guests, we'll take a journey to prove with indisputable evidence what man has struggled to believe for centuries. Go to xzbn.net for the broadcast schedule and check me out at paranormalstakeout.com.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A soul balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today. www.soulbalancing.world.
One 1-800-610-7035 is our toll-free number worldwide. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On MSN Messenger, xzoneradiotv@hotmail.com. And our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. Peter, do we need an expert to work with our dreams?
Thank you for that question. Here's what I would say, that dreams are too important to be left to the experts. It's just like music. I have a sense and a belief and a conviction that we all need to be connected to our dream life. And I think a lot of people have associated dream work to be solely confined to the domain of the psychologist or the psychotherapist. And they can be extremely helpful, when working with a trained let's say, a psychologist. But however, we all need a dream life. And whether you're an artist or an engineer or simply on your own journey towards greater self-awareness, the very act, even if you don't understand your dreams, our dreams are coming for one main purpose, and that's to help us become whole and to do our healing. And they will comment on our lives in very significant ways. So I would say that each of us, and Jeremy Taylor says this, that the person who is the expert on dreams is you, that you're the expert, and that the only true way of understanding or really knowing whether or not you got the message of that dream is you get that tingle, that aha, that chill in your spine that says this is it. Now, if somebody were to tell me a dream, I might be able to help them with it, but I could also be giving my own projections or projecting out a part of me or my stuff onto that dream. So I think it's very wise to look at dreams in a very, very, let's say, reverent way, in a sense that to look at dreams is bigger than any theory, and to also look at them very inquisitively and to connect with them on an emotional level, and then to start playing around with, well, what is this dream saying? How is this a metaphor? And it's very helpful to have a dream circle where if people said nothing else, but, if this were my dream, this is what comes up for me, it would be amazing the amount of insight that can come up with a group of people who have never had any training whatsoever in dreams.
Peter, one quick question before we have to say so long. Dream books that you can buy in any bookstore that basically take you down the path of interpreting the meanings of your dreams. Are these books any good?
Well, it depends on who the author is. I would say that some of these books that do say, from an archetypal sense, if you're dreaming of teeth falling out, could it be that there's a fear of you're losing your power, you're getting old, or losing your edge? Well, sometimes they can be very helpful, but again, I would take them with a grain of salt, and sometimes these books can be very helpful. I have a whole series of books that I've read, worked through, studied, and researched. And I think that it is very important to take a look. I tend to favor the Jungian or depth psychology approach, and so I certainly quote Robert Johnson, who wrote a brilliant book, Inner Work, Using Dreams and Active Imagination for Personal Growth.
Peter, we have to say so long for today. I want to thank you so much for joining us. Exonation Peter Metzner is our special guest this hour. www.dynamicchangeinc.com. That's www.dynamicchangeinc.com. I'll be back on the other side of the commercial break at 6.5 minutes past. Don't go away.